Now, Roger Jardine, the leader of the newly formed political party Change Starts Now, has made several promises. They include creating jobs, eradicating crime, and providing decent basic services such as health, education, water, power, and sanitation. He was launching the vision of the party ahead of the 2024 general elections. He joins us now in studio. Roger, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you.
So you have launched this vision for the country. There's so much that needs fixing in South Africa. Where do you even begin?
Thank you very much for having me. You know, I started years ago as a Director General, served a term, and then for close to 25 years I've been in the private sector. So I've seen how government works and how business works. And what I know is that the public sector is not the private sector. So it's very important for all of us to understand this. The first thing that needs to happen, you know, this practice of developing long policy papers and then taking it through a department to the cabinet, that originated in the middle of the last century. In 2024, we need a government that's focused on delivery and project management. And I think it starts there. And so part of this fundamental overhaul is to unleash the public servants who are in the public service currently are stuck there because they're under the weight of a very inefficient government. So to get them to unleash their potential and to make sure that the right people are tasked with doing the right jobs. The technical expertise is there. The solutions are there. We've just been unable to deliver it because of management. And so I would go right to the heart of the problem, and I think that's where we need to start.
Yeah. How do you make the public sector attractive? Because part of the problem is that skills have been lost. Even during the state capture project, there are people that don't think it's worth working for a government. So how do you bring back those skills while ensuring that you maintain the ones that are currently in the system so that there is state capacity to deliver on the promises like you're making?
Well, I think public servants, and as a former public servant half a lifetime ago, I know that people want to do the right thing. You can go into any hospital, you'll find nurses there who are working under very difficult conditions. This past week I visited 7 primary schools in Sharpeville, Orange Farm, Rivoli, and Mamelodi. And there are teachers there doing their best under very difficult circumstances. And the idea would be to make sure that they are properly trained, properly incentivized, and most importantly, they need to feel that there's runway for them. I think that the public service has buckled under having to deal with appointees who are not acting in the interest of the public or the public servants themselves. And so we need to we really need to revamp the way the public service is viewed. It should be a prestigious place to be. It should be a place where our top graduates aspire to be. And other countries around the world have specifically focused on positioning the public service as a place you go to and you feel proud to be a part of it.
How much involvement of the private sector in the economy do you envisage as the organization?
I think it's a very important question because this is sometimes played off as public versus private, and I really think where we find ourselves in 2024, our starting point cannot be which ideological route we want to choose. Our starting point has to be where are the best solutions to be found. Now we know after years and years of mismanagement, our public sector is lacking the financial resources, the human resources, and there needs to be a partnership. And that's why Change Starts Now is rooted in social solidarity. That means that the private sector and the public sector needs to come together so that we can deliver services to our people in the short term. Let me give you an example. I spoke to someone on a SASSA grant in Soweto last week. He wakes up at 4 a.m. and stands in line to see a doctor when his grant has to be renewed. And they only see 80 doctors a day. And sometimes it takes him more than 5 days to see a doctor. It doesn't have to be that way. We have the systems, we have the processes in this country to make things more efficient. And I think the private sector can play a role in that regard, something as simple as that. So I think in this interim period where we try to fast-track service delivery to our people, we need to bring the private sector much closer in the delivery of those services, but not to sell off the family silver. So here, for example, if you look at Eskom and Transnet, the balance sheet of this country is in dire straits. we need to leverage capital from private markets, and we need to find a way to get our ports and logistics chains working, and then to hand it back to the state at a point in time. There are models for that have been developed, and the government knows it. But it's locked, it's in a trap somewhere. And I think changing this government means we can change the outcome, and every South African agrees the number one issue facing us today is jobs, jobs, and more jobs. And through those mechanisms, we can unlock the potential there to create jobs. Infrastructure development. You know, the National Development Plan that was developed years ago said that if we increase our infrastructure investment to 30% of GDP, we can reduce unemployment to around 10%. That hasn't happened. And so I continue to say the solutions are there. We know the plans. We need to ensure that we put in place project management and delivery vehicles so that we can change things. It does not have to be this way.
How has the party been doing so far? I mean, many analysts felt when you made the announcement that you entered the game a little too late. So in your engagements with other stakeholders and people on the ground, what's your assessment?
Firstly, on this entering too late, I think South Africa is in such dire straits. Every South African who, when they feel the time is right, should jump in to find a solution. I took some time last year. It was a big decision for me to step away from being the chairman of a very large and prestigious financial institution and to do this. And it's never too late to try and lend a hand to put our country on the right track. What we have found is across this country, people have been reaching out to us and to say, this is a voice we need, we are ready to help, and most importantly, we need change. Change starts now. And so across the country, we have people who are reaching out to us, we're reaching out to them. In the coming months, you will see us having town halls and other major meetings across the country, and it's very encouraging. There's so much pent-up frustration about where this country is and where it should be going. And we have invited South Africans to join us in what we are calling the change lane, because unless we get in the change lane, more of this is going to put us in a worse situation in 2029. And so we stepped in to make an intervention in the coming election, because we feel we are running out of time. It's time for like-minded South Africans to come together and chart the way forward.
And are you convinced that you've got the right leadership in the organization? Not only leadership that's strong enough, but one that is also known and relatable to the masses. Could also, ultimately, you still need some popular faces sometimes in politics. You need people that are relatable, you know, people whom South Africans have confidence in and they've seen their work.
We do. We're building a leadership core, but it's quite interesting. You will find that South Africans are very interested in politics, but less interested in politicians. I'm not a career politician. I'm a South African who came forward and said, how can I help? I want to be part of the change. And we're seeing ordinary South Africans who want to find solutions. This is not about political parties or positions, and even the talk of coalitions. It can't be about sharing the spoils. It has to be about a shared future and a common vision and a common purpose for the future. And we'll see those leaders and those personalities and those faces, they're emerging in ordinary communities out there who are also ready to roll up their sleeves and make a difference. So we're growing a very strong leadership core.
And speaking of coalitions, is there a party that change starts now, things they can collaborate with? Is there a specific party that you're talking to?
We don't have a specific party as such. We have indicated that we will talk to everyone. As I've said earlier, I think the time of conceptualizing parties and politics as the good guys are in one corner and the bad guys are in another corner, we've now seen that's not true. We need to coalesce around a shared vision for the future, and we've indicated that we will talk to all parties.
Including the ANC?
Well, I think, unfortunately, the ANC, it's very clear when you speak to South Africans, it's a party of the past. It's a party that needs to do some deep introspection. we are in this situation because of its role in our society. And so for now, we are dealing with other sectors of society who are looking for something different.
Mm-hmm. You said this week that President Cyril Ramaphosa has been an absent father. Why do you believe so?
Well, I think we all know from our family discussions and our friendship groups and the general talk out there, our president's been absent at key moments in this country. He hasn't given a proper press conference to account to the people, and is generally regarded as being absent. And that's why I equated it to an absent father. And I think he really needs to step forward and account for what's going on in this country.
What would you have liked him to do with some of the specific challenges that the country faces that he hasn't done?
I think what South Africa needs at this point in our history is more decisive leadership. I have found in the many companies that I've been involved in and organizations, people tend to want decisions. Sometimes the decisions do not go in their favor, but they want a sense of direction and they want a sense of leadership. And I think it's really less about the person. It's about the attributes that we need in a leader in 2024, which is very competitive. The world is modernizing around us. Our country is fracturing. We have many challenges. Our manufacturing base is eroding. And we need more visionary and decisive leadership at this point in our history. Mm-hmm. And I think a tired, stagnant party is not the party to take us forward at this point in time.
Do you think he overpromised? Because the business sector, which you were part of, had incredible confidence in him when we started. There was some sense of hope that he was coming to clean up. I mean, business funded quite incredibly his campaign. So what has changed? Do you think business was sidestepped? They thought this is the man coming to clean up? Because more and more voices are coming from the sector, seemingly quite disappointed with that lack of decisiveness, as you say.
I think a big part of what has happened is that supporters of the president underestimated the extent to which he would be beholden to the party. And in fact, the president has said on many occasions that his main task is to unite the party. I would have thought a president's main task is to unite the people of the country and to take us forward on a path of progress. And I think the way that played out has led to that growing disappointment and disillusionment with the president.
All right. Jardine, thank you so much for making time for us. And you've now launched the vision. When are you launching the manifesto?
Around the 19th of February that week.
All right. Good luck. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Thanks.